Hi, we're Dave and Jude, and we sold up our home and left our jobs and our lives behind to live on board our sailboat, Anamkara. Since leaving Portsmouth on the south coast of the UK, we've had quite an adventure, visiting wild Atlantic islands, Irish pubs, spotting whales, and watching motorsports. We're embracing life and all that it has to offer. Come with us as we continue to sail north and explore the UK's magnificent coastline all the way up to the Scottish Islands and beyond. We'll be exploring the lochs of Scotland and the Hebridean Islands and discover the wildlife and communities on the way. We have new videos out every Saturday, so make sure you subscribe to avoid missing an episode. Last morning at Bangor today in Northern Ireland. We are currently at the fuel dock and about to leave. We've got a very loose plan for today. There's a bay up on the east coast of Ireland, just sort of down and opposite Kinsale, where we can head. That's about 4 hours up. We are hoping to make it to Sander Island. That's at the bottom of Kinsale on the Scotland side. There's a couple of anchorages there. If we make good time, which I don't think we will, we could get to Campbeltown, which is our ultimate destination right now. The reason we want to go to Campbeltown is we've not been able to buy English gas since, or British gas since Falmouth. So one of our tanks is empty, the other one is almost empty. We've had to buy a induction cooker so to make use of the Marina Electric while we've been here, just to save gas. We've also got a camping stove now as well, just to save on the gas. And the camping stove, the little camping gas canisters, are available in supermarkets, so easier to buy those, and it means that we can have a cup of tea in the morning and stuff if we need to, and cook dinner. So yeah, really looking forward to having an abundant supply of gas again, so that we can start cooking bread and things like that as we would normally expect to do. I'm sure I've had a rant about gas on the channel before, and I'm certain I'll rant about it again. It's ridiculous. But anyway, today fairly light winds, should be in our favour. The tide is against us for the first few hours. That's just because we've decided to leave in the morning. I don't think the tide will be too big of a deal really. But if it is, we'll pull in somewhere and stop. There's plenty of places we can stop for the first part of the journey at least. And yeah, should be 4, 6, 7 hours, something like that, depending on where we end up going. So hopefully quite an easy day.
We've said our goodbyes, but we won't go home just yet. You got your head down, just like when we first met. I can't believe it's ending. Why did we f*** it up? So stupid and upsetting. How can I give you up? We've said our goodbyes, but we won't go home just yet. Let's stay here in this moment, pretend that we're not broken, and kiss me like you used to do before it all went down. 'Cause when the moon is falling, our love will turn to nothing. So kiss me like you used to do before it all went down. Give me this one night, hold me one last time, and kiss me like you used to do before it all went down.
Yep, you can hear the drone of the engine again. So we put full sail up and we were doing 1.3 knots. So less breezy than predicted. We're kind of hoping it's just because we're in Belfast Loch and that we're being shaded by the land. So it might pick up a bit later. It might pick up once we get out past the headland over there. There's no point putting up the spinnaker or kite or cruising chute. Are all names for roughly the same thing. People use them fairly interchangeably. So the reason for that is that a spinnaker doesn't make the boat go faster. the spinnaker just fills better in light winds so that it doesn't flap about quite so much, and it catches a bit more wind because it's slightly bigger. But if the wind is only going 2 knots, you're not going to go 4 knots, is the reality. People think of it as a faster sail in light winds, but the boat will still go the speed that the boat goes, generally speaking. So not even going to bother with that. It's a lot of work to put up, and I mean, the sails were barely filling with the wind that we had, and we were doing 1.3 knots, so it's just not worth it. We're going to motor for a while, hope that we can put the sails up a bit later. Potentially that means we'll go to the closer of the 2 destinations that I mentioned earlier, but who knows, we'll see where we get to and what we decide. We've got hours to think about it, so you tend to come up with all different scenarios while you're sailing, and change your mind back, and then change your mind again, and then you arrive somewhere and drop the anchor. So we'll see where we get to. Captain Jude's on the helm.
Just watching some market pots that we're quite close to, and Dave will probably moan about, but they're racing boys.
Yeah, there's a set of racing buoys just outside of Bangor Marina. They're enormous though, they're really easy to spot, so much less worrying than the normal pot markers. That it's normally a black can that's half submerged and difficult to spot, whereas these are huge bright orange things. So just give you a view of that going past the boat. So we're pretty happy with those. Just handy to see that we are actually moving forwards, because we're not going very fast. I've said a few times on the channel that we don't currently have a working wind instrument. The one at the top of the mast is the original Raymarine. I do have it connected to the B&G via a converter box, but if I look here, AWS is 0, the wind direction is just utter nonsense. So I'm pretty sure the masthead unit's broken, or at the very least it needs a good thorough service. But we've got a new B&G one waiting to go on. It's just a bit of a job, to put it mildly. Anyway, but I also keep talking about the wind speed not being enough to sail, so I thought I would get this little device out, handheld anemometer. So if I start that one, that is actually showing 0 knots. Just to prove it works, I blew on it, and we do get some wind registering. So right now it's showing 0 knots. We are traveling at 4.5 knots. So that sort of suggests this is a really quite a sensitive one. The thing moves even if you just move your hand back and forth. So that suggests we've got about 4.5 knots of wind behind us, and looking at the wind vane, it's directly behind us right now. So that's just not enough to sail on this boat, especially when we've got a dirty bottom, which we have got a very dirty bottom. So yeah, that's why we're motoring today. Very poorly chosen day for leaving, but we'd been in Bangor for 6 nights. And we were getting itchy feet. We were there for 6 nights. We wanted to go into Belfast. We wanted to see the Titanic Museum and have a look around the town. And we had some chores to do, so we had to go shopping, and we had to fix some stuff, as we always do, and do some cleaning and do some editing. And all of that added up. The first day we were there, we were just exhausted as well from Strangford Lock, having too much of the Irish crack. And so yeah, we were just exhausted, so we spent the first day just tired, and then yeah, after 6 days we were ready to leave, so off we've come. It's frustrating, but at least we're getting out of a marina and going somewhere hopefully a bit nicer for the night. So yeah, just motoring along with the droning engine noise. It's really flat seas, you can probably see in the background. Waves don't capture well on film, but you can just tell by the motion of the boat there's almost nothing. There's a bit of a swell coming out of the lock behind us, but that's just the fetch of the wind. But there's no actual swell on the water, so hopefully it'll be a comfortable journey at the very least.
Whispers in the morning, whispers wakes me up. I can hear your words there, whispers that you're mine. I don't need anyone to tell me that you're not, 'cause when you whisper to me, darling, I can't get enough. You know how to read me when I don't want you to know. You care about my feelings and you never let me down. I don't need anyone to tell me that you don't, 'cause when you whisper to me, darling, I can't get enough.
So we've just put the spinnaker up. The wind built to 8 knots apparent, and it's still behind us, so we figured we'd get it out. We successfully got it up. Slight issues with, well, not issues with all the ropes, but the ropes were all everywhere and flying around as probably normal. But we're going about 2.5 knots now with the spinnaker, and still heading in the right direction. Hopefully it will continue to build a little bit and we'll get a bit more speed.
Yeah, we took the spinnaker down. We were doing 1 knot. It's very, very warm out here though. It's the first time we've been properly warm for since Arklow, I would say, which is nice. It's back in shorts and thinking about sun cream for the first time in a while, which for a summer trip we should be feeling this every day. So it's hopefully going to be a nice arrival into Scotland, and sitting on deck, maybe enjoying a gin in the sunshine would be nice after all this time. But yeah, unfortunately we're motoring again. 1 knot just isn't quick enough to get anywhere. So the ETA on the plotter to get to the closer of the places we were considering was something like 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, which for a passage of 30 miles is insane. We like sailing, but we don't want to do a 24-hour passage just for the sake of sailing. So yeah, we'll get there, hopefully drop the anchor and enjoy a nice quiet night, and then we'll be moving again tomorrow into Campbeltown, probably. Depends where we end up tonight, and then onwards north. So we're still going. It's a few hours later. Our ETA has dropped back. We're definitely headed towards Sander Island. The Irish coast is way over there now, and it would probably take us longer to get over there than it would to get to Sander Island in Scotland. So we're carrying on. The days continued getting warmer. It's, I don't know, it must be 18, 19 degrees out here, which when you're at sea is pretty unusual. It's normally cooler out at sea. But I think it helps that we're on a run, so we're sort of with the wind, but there isn't enough wind to blow us along, so we're still motoring. It's frustrating, but it is what it is. That's just one of the things that you have to put up with, is the weather isn't necessarily going to be in your favour all the time. But yeah, hopefully it'll be quite warm at the anchorage tonight, which will be lovely. I think the last warm anchorage we had was the Scillies. Then went on a mooring at Kintyre, and yeah, not many anchorages since. It's not been. The Irish coast lacks good anchorages when there's an easterly, or the East Island coast lacks good anchorages in an easterly. There's not many bays or anything, so yeah, basically most of the year is westerly, so it doesn't normally matter. But we didn't get many anchorages on the way up, So we did all of the, well, you'll have seen by the time you see this, the journey up. So yeah, it'd be quite nice to get back on an anchorage. It'll be nice to be on an island again, if we stay at Sander. We've not been on a little island since the Scillies. The last one again was the Scillies, the last island we were on was the Isle of Man, but that's absolutely huge, so it doesn't really count. And we were in a marina there anyway because we were there for 2 weeks. So. Anyway, I'm rambling on. Just thought we'd update because it's lovely and warm. We're just both sat on deck reading, and I've just played a bit of Nintendo and just sort of sitting around bored really because we didn't have many plans for today, so just sort of milling around on deck. Yeah, sometimes that's nice, bit restful. So you may not make it out, but somewhere about here is an island called Ailsa Craig, otherwise known as Birdshit Island, due to the hundreds of thousands of birds that live and poo all over it every day. So as you sail very close to it, the entire peak of it is white. It's almost like it's a snow-capped mountain, but it's actually not that high, and it's not snow. But when you're sailing in these waters, we're at the top of the Irish Sea, just coming up to St George's Channel over here. You quite often see Ailsa Craig in the distance, and it stays in the distance for hours and hours and hours. So I think my record was about 8 hours that we could see it as we sailed north from the Isle of Man to Scotland. And yeah, it's just frustrating because it just marks a thing that you can see, and it makes it feel like you're making no progress at all. But the other interesting thing about Ailsa Craig is the sport of curling. Every curling stone is made of blue granite, and the blue granite is uniquely sourced from this island. So as you sail past, you also see lots of rocks on the shoreline that have just had a big hole cut out of them, almost like somebody's been making donuts out of rocks, and they just leave the rest of the rock on there, take the rest off, polish it up, turn it into a curling stone, and people then sling it down some ice. You'll have probably seen this on the Olympics and probably nowhere else. I don't think it's a widely practiced sport in many places. But yeah, interesting little fact about Ailsa Craig. Look it up if you're interested in rocks and curling. But yeah, we're probably about 3 hours out from Sander Island now, just off of the south of the Mull of Kintyre, and the sun feels like it's getting stronger, so that's all right by me. But the mainsail is flapping back and forth and causing all kinds of creaking noises and stuff, which is frustrating, but I always prefer to have the main up just for stabilising the boat and whatever, so we're going to leave it and deal with the creaking.
We are still going and still motoring, obviously. So we have got quite a bit of swell now, so we're being chucked around. That's hitting us on this side. So you'll see probably the horizon line moving up and down with us. It's got a bit chilly now. It's not all sunshine and rainbows out here, and we can still see the land. It is getting closer, and we're probably only about an hour away, and then we'll need to get round and anchor and whatnot. So probably an hour and a half, 2 hours away from being settled into the anchorage for the night. But yeah, I've got them all snugly in my jacket, and we'll hopefully be here soon.
So as we approach Scotland, the temperature has continued to drop. I've been down and changed from shorts to trousers and my fleece into my coat. This, by the way, is why sailors have so many coats, just changeable conditions all the time. We can still see Ailsa Craig in the distance. We're coming up to Sander Island, which was one of our options of stopping. We've just seen a bunch of puffins, which was exciting, out in the wild. the seas have built up quite a bit, and it's just freezing cold. So we're thinking it's another 2 hours to Campbeltown. We might make the call and just carry on into Campbeltown, which is it's a lock, and so it should be a bit more protected and hopefully a little bit warmer than an anchorage. This anchorage on this island is sticking out on the tip of the peninsula, very exposed. The anchorage, I'm sure, would be protected enough. It's on the north side of the island where we're going to go, but I think it would be cold there tonight, and it's looking misty around the island as well, which means it could be raining, or at least misty around us, so that would make it even colder. So yeah, we're not really sure what we're going to do yet, still, even though we're 8 hours into the journey or something. But glad we've seen some puffins. That's pretty cool. Always nice to see new birds. Every couple of 100 miles the birds change, and the number of birds and the type of birds change. So quite interesting as we go north. Behind me you'll see the eastern coast of the Mull of Kintyre. So we are now sailing in towards Campbeltown. We went past Sander Island. It was pretty rough as we went past. The wind was in the opposite direction that it was forecast for the last 4 hours, which was odd. I've never seen it be that wrong for that consistently long. And it wasn't a local effect either. It wasn't the direction we were sailing. It was just seemed the forecast was wrong. Yeah, it was interesting just because of the fetch all the way across the sea there, that the waves had built up. The tidal effect of the North Channel going out to the Atlantic also doesn't help. There's 3 knots of tide there, I think, today, midstream, which is fairly significant, and kicks up some sea by itself. And as a result, the anchorage there, which in a southerly would have been quite pleasant, in a westerly or a northwesterly just wouldn't be very pleasant at all. So we've gone past there. We're coming up to Campbeltown, but behind me the land is just looking absolutely epic, lovely and green, interesting hills and mountains and stuff. And then in the distance, the other side, we can see the mountains on the Isle of Arran. We can still see Ailsa Craig. It's the most frustrating island I've ever sailed past, I think I said earlier. And then further up is Loch Fyne. Back behind the Isle of Arran is Glasgow, up in the corner there. So, and the Clyde, I think Glasgow is. So yeah, plenty around to do and see, and but we're about an hour and a half away from Campbeltown. We're not really sure what we're going to do tonight. There's an anchorage in there. We're slightly worried it'll be dark by the time we get in there, which in these areas is very, very dark. There is a marina up at the back, or some pontoons. We're not sure. It won't be open, so there'll be nobody to call to ask if we can tie alongside. And we're not sure how busy it is, and it's a 10-minute motor to the other side of the harbour to find out. So we'll see what it looks like when we get in there. I'm certain there'll be somewhere to tie alongside, or drop an anchor, or pick up a mooring or something in there, and then decide what we're going to do tomorrow, whether we stay there for a day and see what the town is like, or if we carry on up further north. There's a few other towns, anchorages and such further along.
So we are just coming into wait, where are we in? Castletown? I've forgotten. Campbeltown. I don't know where that came from. I did know, yeah, and we're hoping to find somewhere to anchor. Oh, hold on, like marker there.
We're in Campbeltown, so we've moved this morning from the anchorage on the south side of the bay to... Well, we tried the north side of the bay. There was a second anchorage. We were hoping it would be a shorter journey by dinghy. It was way too far and way too windy this morning to go from the south side. It's about a mile, which is normally fine, but it was straight into the wind and it was quite blustery and wavy and stuff, so we didn't even want to launch the dinghy. So we moved the main boat over to the other anchorage, which was just horrible. And it was quite shallow and there were rocks around, and we had to get gas anyway, so we called out the marina. Long story short, we're in the marina. It's quite a cheap one though, and the town there's more here than we were expecting. So we went out and finally got gas, after 2 months of trying. The town, there's plenty here. So this afternoon Jude has found 3 distilleries.
Yeah, 3 distilleries here. Whisky distilleries.
Yeah, so we should have said Campbeltown in Scotland. We finally arrived in Scotland, and Scotland is obviously famous for scotch. So everywhere you go there's a distillery or 2 or 3. So Jude now wants to go and try the whiskies. She didn't like the whiskies I had, which are Isla whiskies, very peaty, kind of strong tasting ones. So we're going to go and see if the Campbeltown whiskies are any better. And
we'll report back.
We will report back. It could be another Jude's tasting session. The last one I think we did was the stouts down in Kintyre, which is the next episode that's going to go live next week, and that for us is a month and a half ago now. So this is going to be the next in the series of Jude Tastes Wine, Jude Tastes Beer, Jude Tastes Whiskey.
Yeah, we've got to find the one that I like, or I'll accept that I never will like whiskey.
There's always a whiskey that somebody likes. You just have to try enough. I thought I hated whiskey, and a Scottish person forced me into trying a few, and now I like it. This morning we went to the cafe that's just up behind us, Tea on the Quay. Absolutely fantastic. We both tried some haggis, which is a very peppery, sausagey Scottish delicacy, for want of a better word. I won't go into how it's made or what it's made of, but very tasty.
Yeah, it was a really nice cafe, definitely worth going if anyone is here. And I would also say, from what we've seen, it's also worth making the stop. I
would make a stop in Campbeltown. We thought it was just a stopover type place where you stopped on your way somewhere. Actually, the town is really nice. There seems to be a lot of food and things here, so definitely worth stopping. Beautiful countryside around. I'll probably try and get some B-roll to overlay over what we've just been saying. But there's lovely rolling hills all around and stuff. So it's on the Kintyre peninsula on the west coast of Scotland. So that was the Glen Scotia distillery, where we did 3 whiskies and 3 chocolates. It's a match set, so the chocolates were designed to match the 3 whiskies that we were given.
And they did really well.
They did match really well. Just to clarify what we actually paid for, well, in the end we paid for just 3 drams plus the box of chocolates, and we ended up with 1 chocolate each. Normally you'd get 1 chocolate per whiskey, but we only really wanted 3 drams of whiskey because we're going to another distillery tour right now,
and we're going to do the actual
and we're doing the full distillery tour. So that was a self-guided one. You can have it with not an instructor, like a tasting expert that will talk you through the whiskies while you're drinking. We didn't really have time for that because we've already booked in for this next one. So we only had 45 minutes to spare, and we've got to walk across town. Not that it's a big town. At the Springbank Distillery in Campbeltown, we opted for the full tour. This is one of the most comprehensive whisky tours we've seen, with the distillery doing all their maltings in-house, where most others now outsource this activity. The maltings had the most wonderful smell of sweet cereal flavours and freshly cut hay. The grain is turned every few hours by hand, and the malting process produces enough heat to keep the room warm all year round. Some of the whisky here is peated, a process where peat is burned in the oven to produce a smoky taste in the final product. We got to go inside the kiln where smoke and heat rises through the malted barley above. The smell in this pitch-dark room was amazingly warm and smoky. We moved on through the machinery that moves the grain and onto the mash tun, where hot water is added to extract sugars from the grain ready to ferment. Onto the fermentation, where the process is identical to that of beer making. A strong yeasty beer smell permeated this room. The scale of the batch is clear to see, with hundreds of gallons being brewed at a time. Next we moved to the strong alcohol smells of the distillation. Here a literal fountain of distillate was flowing like a small stream, and we could see where the unwanted spirit heads and tails can be discarded by turning the spout to waste. Finally we saw one of the many storage rooms where the whisky is aged for a legal minimum of 3 years, but more often a decade or more for improved flavour development. We did do more tasting, but unfortunately the audio came out unusable due to various noise. We'll just say that Jude did find some she liked among the 10 we tried that day. Join us next week as we move further into the Scottish lochs.